The Empress baby dragons frightened all alien babysitters. Then a human little girl stepped in, beginning the problem no empire could solve. The Galactic Empire of Aurelia stretched across 100 star systems, ruled by Empress Seraphel the Eternal, a being of both flesh and cosmic fire. For centuries she had reigned, her words shaping civilizations, her gaze able to silence warlords and calm rebellions. Yet, for all her might, one thing confounded her empire and even herself. Her children, twin hatchlings, born of dragon fire and cosmic starlight, had emerged from their crystalline eggs within the obsidian creche of Aurelian Prime. They were the heirs, future rulers, embodiments of her dynasty's power. But unlike ordinary infants, they were dragon-born, silver-scaled, with eyes like black holes, wings flickering in and out of existence, as though reality itself couldn't quite contain them. And they were terrifying. The first time the palace staff attempted to approach, the hatchlings' cries shook the palace halls, shattering crystal chandeliers and sending servants tumbling. Alien caretakers from across the empire, gelatinous nanny from Varn, empathic birdfolk from Exwarar, even the telepathic Lamari, were summoned. All failed. Some fled in terror. Others collapsed from psychic overload, and a few simply vanished when the hatchlings playfully snapped their jaws at the fabric of space-time itself. Even the Empress, in her majesty, could not spend every moment cradling them. She had an empire to govern, treaties to secure, wars to avert. And so she faced a paradox. The most powerful woman in the galaxy, unable to find someone who could babysit her children. Rumor spread to the courts and starports alike. The dragon heirs cannot be tamed. No being can stand near them without trembling. The Empress dynasty is doomed if no one can raise them. Weeks turned into months. The hatchlings grew, their wails now strong enough to topple weaker ship shields when broadcast unintentionally. Alien civilizations began refusing emissary requests, fearing their representatives might be devoured in a play session. Until one day, in the lowest district of Aurelia's capital, a little human girl named Mara wandered into history. Middle, the girl and the dragons. Mara was only 8 years old, the daughter of a dockworker who maintained the Empire's vast orbital fleet. Unlike the nobles who dressed in shimmering fabrics and spoke in tongues woven with subharmonics, Mara lived in simple clothes and bare feet, often running errands through the crowded markets. She had seen holes of the Empress, yes, but to her, rulers and gods existed only on screens. Her world was simple. The smell of engine grease, the hum of ships docking, and the laughter of workers in the dimly lit alleys. One fateful day, a call rang out across the Empire, a final plea for a caretaker of any species, who could withstand the hatchlings. It was broadcast like a desperate prayer, carried through every channel, even spilling into the marketplaces. Mara listened as alien traders mocked the very idea. No creature can last more than 5 breaths near those terrors, hissed the scale merchant. They scream and reality bends. They bite and space-time rips, muttered another. But Mara, young and unshaken by the grandeur of empire or the terror of myth, tilted her head curiously. They sound like babies to me. That night, she told her father she wanted to see them. He laughed at first, until she snuck away during his shift, boarding a service lift that carried her straight into the heart of the palace itself. The palace guards almost stopped her until the hatchlings cried. The sound tore through walls, bent the edges of air itself, and sent armored soldiers to their knees. Yet Mara, clutching a worn rag doll, simply winced. They sound hungry, she thought, or lonely. Before anyone could stop her, she walked barefoot into the chamber. The hatchlings turned. Their eyes, spheres of collapsing galaxies, focused on the small, fragile human. Their wings twitched, fracturing light. Even Empress Seraphel herself, towering in her radiant form, leaned forward with alarm. The guards braced for the child to disintegrate. Instead, Mara dropped to her knees, hugged her doll tightly, and said, Don't cry. You're scaring everyone. The hatchlings froze. One blinked, and the galaxies in its eyes swirled slower. The other tilted its head, nostrils flaring as though sniffing the girl's courage. Then, with a sound that no one in the galaxy had ever heard from before, the larger hatchling cooed. Gasps filled the chamber. Mara reached out, unafraid. The smaller hatchling shuffled forward, claws scraping the marble, and placed its massive, shimmering snout in her lap. She scratched its chin as if it were a lost puppy. See? You're not scary at all. You're just babies. The Empress, for the first time in her immortal reign, found herself speechless. The transformation of the palace. From that day forward, Mara became the hatchling's chosen caretaker. Every morning, she walked barefoot into the obsidian creche, carrying simple toys she fashioned herself. Knotted ropes, glowing stones from the gardens, hollow metal pipes that made funny sound when blown. To cosmic dragon heirs who could shatter mountains with their tantrums, these little toys were endlessly fascinating. Mara sang human lullabies to them. Words no translator could fully render, but the melodies wrapped around the hatchlings like gentle starlight. When they fought, snapping wings and shaking the palace with their fury, Mara scolded them with the sternness of a child pretending to be her own mother. Shockingly, they listened. Alien dignitaries began visiting, skeptical at first. They watched the tiny human climb atop a hatchling's head, braiding flowers into scales while the other nuzzled her side. The galaxy trembled at their cries, yet before this child, they became docile, even playful. They fear nothing, whispered the avian emissaries of XYR. No, replied a Lamari telepath, awestruck. They love her, and love spread like fire. The people of Aurelia began telling stories. The Empress heirs had chosen a guardian not of nobility, nor of ancient alien wisdom, but of the common human spirit. Merchants sang songs of the barefoot girl, who tamed dragons. Workers carved her image into ship hulls. Even soldiers began carrying trinkets of rag dolls for luck. But not all were pleased. The threat of rebellion. Far beyond Aurelia's core, whispers rose. Rival houses, long jealous of Seraphel's reign, saw weakness. An empire whose heirs are sued only by a human child is an empire ripe for conquest. One warlord sneered. Others feared that if Mara controlled the heir's loyalty, she might one day wield the dragons themselves as weapons. Plots thickened. Assassins were sent, though none could cross the hatchling's gaze. Spies infiltrated, only to be driven mad by the silent hum of their wings. Still, rebellion gathered momentum, threatening war that could split the empire. Mara, too young to understand politics, only noticed the Empress looking weary. One night, she approached Seraphel as the Empress stood alone on her balcony, gazing across the burning skies of Aurelia. Why are you sad? Mara asked softly. Seraphel turned, her form flickering between flame and flesh. She looked down at the child who had succeeded where all others had failed. Because love makes even eternal feel fear. If they harm you, Mara, the empire will burn in my wrath. And yet, I cannot keep you safe from all. Mara thought for a moment, then smiled. Then let's make the baby strong enough to protect everyone, even me. Those words changed the Empress. The training of the heirs. Under Mara's playful guidance, the hatchlings began training. Not with weapons, but with games. She taught them to fly by tossing glowing stones into the sky, giggling as they scrambled to chase them. She taught them control by hiding, and making them sniff her out without knocking down half the palace. She even taught them patience by refusing to feed them until they stopped roaring. What had begun as babysitting became the foundation of their discipline. Years passed. The hatchlings grew into young dragons, still fierce, but tempered by the only being they trusted fully, Mara. And though she aged slowly, her bond with them deepened, woven with laughter, tears, and endless loyalty. When rebellion finally broke into open war, fleets darkened stars. Rival houses hurled armadas at Aurelia, determined to end the Empress line. The palace shook with impact. Cities trembled. And then above the battlefield, the twin dragons rose, vast, silver-scaled, wings splitting the sky. But they did not roar in chaos. They flew in perfect arcs, their power woven together like dancers in symphony. And on their backs sat Mara, no longer a child, but a young woman, her laughter ringing through the comm channels. Don't be afraid, she told the Empire. They're with us. The dragons unleashed their fury, but guided by her voice, their destruction spared civilians, shielded allies, and dismantled only the invading fleets. The rebellion shattered in days. Ending. The legacy of a babysitter. Peace returned, and with it, a legend. The Empress declared Mara not merely a caretaker, but the guardian of heirs, a title enshrined in law and song. She was given no throne, no crown, but something greater. The eternal trust of two beings who would one day rule the galaxy. And those centuries would later reshape the empire. No one ever forgot the truth. That when all the galaxy's alien wisdom failed, when fear silenced even the bravest, it was a little human girl, barefoot and unafraid, who taught the heirs of eternity their first lesson in love. The song still whispered across the stars. The Emperor's baby dragons frightened all alien babysitters, until a human little girl stepped in